get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor Olstead, and I want to welcome you back to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me are my co-hosts, Tyler Reed.
I told you! I don't like beef in my lasagna! I told you a million times! Let's do it! Why you keep doing this to me? I can't keep this up anymore!
And Sean Evans.
I've decided that I'm going to start drinking out of a glass, and I'm going to hold the brim of the glass and drink out of it like that.
What are you gonna do? What?
This is a very intense aesthetic choice.
You know what I mean? You have a glass on your table? If you're at home and you're listening to this and you have a glass, you have a glass? Okay.
I have a glass.
Okay, so you grip it on the top like this.
Oh my god,
so you
I hate
reach
this.
your fingers over into the glass. No.
In?
Yes, like that. Yes, into the glass. Yes, and then drink out of it.
What kind of barbarian, method is this? What?
That's what...
Thanks, I hate it.
Next time you're in a meeting, just grab your mug like that and drink out of it and see who's the first one to notice. Because last night we went out to dinner with some of our friends and they were drinking out of their glasses like that. And every time Sarah didn't see it, I was just busting out laughing. I couldn't complete a full sentence. It was hilarious. So
You can't be friends with those people anymore.
oh no, I'm totally gonna be friends with them.
Let's move on. Tyler, what was our challenge this week?
This week, found a perfect song for drown out your neighbor's loud yelling. This challenge sent in by our good friend of the show, Taylor.
That's me.
Taylor, there he is.
Hi.
He was here the whole time.
Yeah, I put this challenge in the chat when I was living in my previous apartment because my upstairs neighbors there were terrible. We were pretty sure they were drug dealers. There were 8 of them that were somehow in and out of this 2-bedroom apartment all the time. They would stomp around in boots and high heels or whatever. It was super loud. And occasionally they would just get into all-out screaming matches. It'd be yelling at each other, and then one of them would try to leave, and the other one would go out on the balcony and yell at them while they were down in the parking lot, and it was too much. And so...
This sounds like fun.
I was laying in bed listening to them scream at each other one night and put this challenge into our spreadsheet because I needed songs to keep their voices out of my ears. How do you guys deal with your noisy neighbors?
I kind of had a drug dealer problem, but they just lived the next house over, and there just constantly was cars just rolling in and out of a gravel driveway right by my window. Obviously not as bad as yelling. It was just a little I feel like there's a lot of people coming and going. Anyway, I think we all kind of were well, we gotta have a song that's pretty loud. Yeah, because you're trying to drown it out. But I feel like another key component to this is making sure that it's not super obvious what you're trying to do. So then if they hear it, they're oh, we were being too loud. But I don't think any...
Oh no, I want to be obvious. I'm if you're going to be loud, I'm going to be louder than you.
And then some would say as a follow-up, if they're yelling that much, do they really care what you think?
Well, and that's probably true.
So...
But I got a 200-watt stereo up in here. I got to crank it every once in a while.
No, you're right. But a consideration for me was, well, I don't want to just pick because, I would have just chosen War Eternal by Arch Enemy, but I'm I don't know if I really want to play it that loud. I feel like a lot of my metal listening is kind of been consolidated into physical exercise. Or the car. Yeah. Not really home listening.
What about you, Sean? Do you have noisy neighbors? Do you have things you need to drown out? How do you drown them out?
It might actually... no, not really. I live in a fireproof building. You guys familiar with what a fireproof building is?
No. Made out of concrete?
Yeah. Basically, between every apartment, it's solid concrete. So unless somebody's banging on the floor or drops something, you can't really hear them, which is pretty nice. I'm pretty sure also that within 2 apartments of me on the there's like the people don't live there because there's just like stacks of boxes there. I'm pretty sure that most of the people that live in my building are just have like a housing front or something. So they have stuff delivered and it just sits out there. But
those bowling ball conventions are a real killer, aren't they?
they really are.
Just conveniently always at the top floor too.
I mean, it's only once a
at the
year.
ground floor.
But yeah, you would be surprised at like just the amount of bowling balls that you have to throw to. They don't play right. I think there's like 5 or 6 balls per what is it, like round or game. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But that said, I do work in an open floor plan office.
The real terror over time.
And when I mean open floor plan office, I mean I work in a room where desks line the walls, and then there's desks in the middle of the room. And there's refrigerators that sit right behind me because I work in food. So at any point in time, I either have the 70 decibel hum of a industrial refrigerator or the chat of an entire department. Well, more like 3 departments. So it doesn't always bother me, and I contribute a lot to that as well. But sometimes when I just need to get into, do some work mode, which is all of the time, I do need to drown out some sound. So, but it's not like it's all bad. I don't want to say like I'm trying to drown out like really bad people. I know they have a job that they are trying to do and they have to communicate to do it. But, you just need to be there.
I think you make a good point, Tyler, that we all picked songs that are pretty loud this week. It really gave us a chance to bring in some of the heavier stuff, which I know the playlist has been lacking recently. I know I personally went back and just listened to a lot of really guitar-driven stuff for this week because I haven't been doing a lot of guitar stuff lately. And so I was doing some heavier rock, the tiny teensiest little bit of metal that's in my library. Just a lot of really aggressive stuff, which hasn't really been the headspace that I've been in a while. And so it was nice to kind of play in that. And I made this playlist and had to take like a pretty long drive yesterday and just blasted it in the car, which is how I ended up doing my pick.
Yeah, I had actually sent my pick over to Alex Lockwood, 71 DPI. And he said his gut reaction was lower fidelity, big fuzzy wall of sound. And he said, without thinking, his first pick would be Neutral Milk Hotel's Carrot Flowers.
That's interesting.
I feel like Neutral Milk Hotel is a much more toned down choice. But I would say that the like lo-fi element, the like fuzzy stuff, like I think also like some like shoegazy kind of stuff, like lots of like distortion would be good. It's a little less intense.
And it's a little more enveloping. Get those big soaring guitars of like a Silver Sun pickups or something like that. Well, let's get into some picks. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Sean, what do you have for us?
So this week I chose Los Angeles by Sugar Cult. Let's see. All right, so I first got introduced to Sugar Cult probably like 2004. They haven't had an album in like probably almost 12 years. I'm pretty sure they don't exist anymore. That said, I think one of their
real-time follow-up, Sugar Cult has been on hiatus since 2011.
Okay, so this is off album Lights Out, which I thought was actually really good for kind of the waning years of pop punk. But I really feel like why I like this song is because it has like a driving beat, but at the same time it's very full, if that makes sense. Like when in the chorus it's still low, but there's like a hi-hat that's like a loose hi-hat, so it still feels really full. And then in the chorus it's very loud. It has a very grunge song structure like that. I think the lyrics are pretty catchy too. I have a hard time getting the song stuck like out of my head once I listen to it once, about 30 seconds into it. I feel like if there's something that's loud and distracting, if I can have something that like keeps all my attention or gets me in a positive attitude, I kind of a dancey attitude, that I'm a lot more focused on what needs to happen. So that's kind of why I picked this song, because it's drives me in that way. And I feel like if I'm in a mood where something doesn't allow me to concentrate, I need to have something that allows me to focus on something. But that said, one thing that's really off-putting about this song is that if you listen like really close, you can hear that the drums are mic'd. And it's like mixed so the drums are like right over your right eye if you're listening in stereo. And that really bothers me because the mixing feels really weighted towards the right, and that's distracting.
I agree with pretty much everything you said, Sean. I think this is a very well written song. It's very catchy. The guitar parts in particular are really loud and enveloping and fit that kind of like drowning out outside noise thing that we were looking for. So I totally get what you're going for here. The verses are a little understated for what we're going for the challenge, but I do think they work. I do agree with you. I think the mix is the weakest part of this song. For me, though, it's not really the drums. It's whatever compression they're doing on the lead vocal. It just feels very flat, like it doesn't have a lot of dynamics. This is kind of a 2000s-y way to do a pop-punk lead vocal. And it feels very dated in 2020. The most recent Blink-182 album, 9, has this same kind of vocal compression all over it, and it feels like 2004. Like, I think that's just a sound that's kind of gone out of vogue, and I'm sure if this song was recorded today, it would sound different, but that in particular just really, like, bothers me. But it's a good song. I agree. I think it's very much, like, of its time.
What about you, Tyler? You got any notes about the mixing? You're listening really hard.
Absolutely not. I have no notes on the mix. I think Taylor's comment about this being a dated song really is just really speaking to me. Mostly, really the vocals are the worst part for me, which is funny considering I like some of the other Sugar Cult songs. So I don't know why. It just feels just uncharacteristic from what I remember them sounding like. Anyway, the lyrical content of the song is really like, I was like, what is this about? I wasn't really into like this. It felt weird. It felt weird to listen to.
Yeah, there are some lines in this that would not get released in 2020. I Want a Girl That Won't Talk Back would probably not fly right now.
Yeah. But that being said, I mean, like, if you're like listen to the song back then and you have like any sort of like nostalgia for it, I can imagine that it's like you're kind of like not really like paying attention to that too much. But I mean, like, I think it's good to blast really hard. I mean, like, there's definitely like it's definitely like a rock song. Like, but I mean, it's definitely not what I'm into right now. But I think it works really great for the challenge. So that's me.
All right, well, I guess I can go next. This week I chose Leader of the Pack by Sleigh Bells. So Sleigh Bells is a alternative rock duo, sometimes called noise pop, who were kind of like indie popular in the late 2000s. They're composed of the guitarist for the hardcore band Poison the Well and Alexis Krauss, who was kind of a teen pop star wannabe in a short-lived girl group called Ruby Blue. And I bring that up because a lot of people, when I play Sleigh Bells for them, are kind of like, what on earth is this? And I feel like when you explain that it's like a former girl group singer and a hardcore punk metal guitarist, it starts to make sense. And this track is off their second record, Reign of Terror, which came out in 2012. And it follows in kind of the vein of their early stuff that's just like super loud, but also melodic, which is why I really fell in love with Sleigh Bells. Their later stuff got a little more experimental and electronic. It's still good, but it's just different. But I love just like the wall of guitars on this track. There's like 6 or 7 different guitar parts that are all layered on top of each other. And the different effects that Derek Miller is doing on these guitars just creates this really like enveloping wall of noise that I really enjoy, but it still has like a discernible melody, which is why I think I ultimately liked it. And then Alexis's vocals on top of it just create this kind of nice counterpoint where she's very light and kind of floating on top of it as though she's like almost singing in a different song. And Leader of the Pack in particular is just like relentlessly loud all the way through, which when I'm trying to drown something out, that's what I want. I want like no quiet bridge or anything like that. Like other than a 2-beat break after the first chorus, this song is just loud for like the entire thing, which I really, really enjoy. I've always really wanted to see Sleigh Bells live. I've heard it's like one of the loudest live shows you'll ever go to. They're a really cool, unique band, and I've been waiting to get them on the playlist.
Wow. You liked it for all the reasons that I thought it was kind of mediocre. I felt like it was just a full-on blast of noise, and that made it kind of almost unlistenable to me. It's not terrible. It's not the worst thing that I've ever heard. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, like, it's just, like, white noise, I guess, and that's off-putting to me. Like, if I had to pick between people yelling, which is arguably annoying, and white noise, which is arguably annoying, I guess it would depend on the day for me. Like, if it, like, okay, so I guess I would listen to this on days that end in D, like Monday, and I would listen to people yell on days that end in day, like Tuesday. Does that make sense?
No, but whatever.
So I'll follow up the paid trade. I'm gonna say I told Taylor to pick a Sleigh Bell song. I, however, did not tell him to pick this Sleigh Bell song. But this isn't a bad Sleigh Bell song. It's not the one I would have chose. I feel like you should have went straight for the top and just and just went for Tell 'Em. Just anything off like the next the top 4 songs on Treats. You know, you could have even Real Reeled if you wanted.
Real Real is not loud enough.
Even that it's not loud enough. You're right, but Tell 'Em was in my heart of hearts the song that I wanted you to pick. But that's okay. That's okay. I think I would say that this is not as completely white noise as Sean's making it out to be. Because I mean, there's a pretty decent there's like a decent like synth part that kind of like breaks it up a little bit. But I mean, this probably just isn't a band for Sean, because it's just gonna sound like that the whole time. And I would say that Sleigh Bells is good to put on a playlist. Probably not great for a whole album.
Yeah, you really got to be in a mood to listen to 30 to 40 minutes of Sleigh Bells, because it's just relentless. Like, I went back through their discography this week to prep for this challenge, and I had to really, like, break it up, because I think we forget how long Treats, their debut album, is. Like, it's very long, and there are songs on it that are even more repetitive than this one. I'm looking at you, AB Machines. Like, that song is rough. So I wanted to pick something that still had a discernible melody, and I think you're right, Tyler. I think the synth part or the keys really kind of break up the guitar on this in a way that a lot of the stuff on that first record is really just guitar and drum machine. And that's why I didn't pick anything from it, because it felt like it was just too, like, noise rock, and I didn't think that would fit on the playlist.
It's kind of like the first Crystal Castles album.
That was another group that I thought about for this because they came up right around the same time. And I do really like Crystal Castles, but definitely an acquired taste.
Also best served
In small
on
doses.
a playlist.
But speaking of things from the late 2000s, Tyler, what was your pick?
I guess that's me. This week I chose Raison Pinion by Baroness. So Baroness is described as a sludge metal, alternative metal, progressive metal band. I probably heard of them maybe like 10 years ago. An old friend recommended them to me. He gave me their first two albums. Well, not their first two albums. He gave me their red album and their blue album. This was back when shared music was a thing. When you were like, hey, I pirated all this music. Here, you can have it. And so Baroness is always kind of stuck in my mind as a band I've wanted to put on this playlist because I think it's really like a great example of a metal band that can be as heavy as you want them to be, but they also have moments of beauty and like elegance. Like they can really make a moment feel like fantastical. They can make it kind of like they're able to craft like sort of like just really unique soundscapes that feel like nothing I've ever heard before. And it's really just feels like a combination of like these like dueling guitars that just are like, I don't know what they're doing, but it sounds really cool. And so Raison Pinion is the lead track off the Red album. And I kind of like, I was basically debating between this song or the second track on this album, which they basically lead right into each other. But I decided, well, if I'm going to put this album on, you got to start at the beginning. I think it's a treat all the way through. And I feel like Raison Pinion has a great build up. So it doesn't, like I said, my thought was like, I don't want to make this too obvious. I don't want the people to be like, hey, are you playing the loud stuff just so we can't hear us yell about the lasagna? I was like, well, let's have a nice lead up. And it does great. It takes about 2 minutes to really kind of start to build up into something, at a reasonable volume. But I mean, pretty much once it gets going, it doesn't stop. And I mean, it's just crushing one moment and beautiful the next. Yeah, it's great. I'll stop there because I've already said a lot.
I don't really know how to feel about this one.
Okay.
I think part of my problem here is that I'm just not really a metal person.
No?
This is Doom. This isn't metal.
Oh, come on.
Wait,
You know what I mean.
There's a huge difference.
You know what I mean. Like, the whole sphere of influence of metal is just not a section of rock music that I spend a lot of time in. But if and when I do, it's more in this doom and sludge and progressive space. Like, I'm not really into like thrash metal and like just really, really aggressive stuff. I like Tyler. I like those moments of beauty and melody in it. I think my challenge with this song is that it just takes too long to get where it's going for the purpose of what we're trying to do tonight. Like, once it gets there, it is very loud, and you could really like piss off some neighbors playing this song at full volume. My problem is the first, 4 minutes are everything from like droning ambient tones to arpeggiated acoustic guitars, and it like slowly builds and builds and builds, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not sure that it's where I wanted you to go this week. I think it takes a long time to get where it's going, and when it gets there, it's just fine.
I think that's a pretty fair critique. I think if anything, I knew picking this, I knew it was going to be crucified based on the fact that there was a minimum of 2 minutes of atmosphere and texture. So, but
yeah, that's a good way to call that. It sounds like something that your mother would say. Well, it's got good atmosphere and texture, but
oh no!
really what I was hoping for was a little bit more like dredge on the distortion of the guitar line. And then a lot more it was a little too wickety wickety wickety, and what we wanted was Joe 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 Joe. Like it's like, you know, like you really gotta make sure that you
Joe.
yeah,
Not
you gotta
jing,
get the doom in there.
Boom, boom.
And then a lot more screechy guitar. That like
Like that? Is that how you like it?
yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I really just want to drown out Marty and Martha, like, yelling about the bowling ball convention that's coming to town. I understand. I know what I did wrong.
Did it have to be 7.5 minutes long?
Yeah, well, I really, like, hubris is my downfall here, really. So I said, okay, 1 7-minute song. Sean says, shame on me. I said, how about 2 7-minute songs? It's shame on me.
The thing is, though, like, last week's pick was 7 minutes long, but it was 7 minutes of, like, interesting stuff. The problem with this is that it takes 3 minutes to even get interesting and 4 minutes to even get loud. And in a challenge that's about loudness, you can't have 4 minutes of quiet.
Listen, I would have chose Arch Enemy's War Eternal if I really had my say, but I realized how completely dissonant that would have been on this playlist. So I think really
every song in the history of the universe is available for this playlist, and this is what you did.
Right.
You made a choice.
You're right.
I applaud you for making a bold choice. I just don't think it was the right one.
Listen, it was a gambit.
Oh, my favorite X-Man.
Yes, I too love the card throwing man. Why don't we just listen to a little YYZ? Let's just turn on let's just get the rush out.
Sean, are you done? Are we ready to move on?
No, I feel like I got out what I needed to say. If not, you touched on it very nicely. I feel like I don't really need to slam Tyler anymore, except the mixing on this song was also awful. I was very confused about how the drum set was set up and where the bass was coming from. I cannot, like, it was just everywhere all the time. It was really confusing. But I don't know how you killed it last week, and you did such a good job, and then this week you...
My hubris. I told you.
Okay.
I said, surely the monolithic start of one of, like, progressive metal's, like, Sweet Children would have entertained you, but obviously I was wrong.
Don't pick the intro track. Never pick the intro track.
That is the rule.
You learned this with Mitski, and then you did it again.
Is the rule.
All right, now it's time for notable B-sides, and these are songs that were so close to getting... Well, they could still kind of get picked to drown out your neighbors. It depends on how long the bowling ball tournament goes. Anybody got some notable bowling ball drag-outers?
Apparently now it's YYZ.
That's yours. You just made that up. It's not like we assigned that to you or something.
I'm saying YYZ now.
Oh, okay.
Real pick.
Okay, that's fine.
Meow 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 meow.
Let's just throw another one. Let's just say woman. Let's just say probably a ghost song. And
oh my god, where do you go when people are annoying to you? Are you like summoning demons or something?
Yes. Well, to be fair, I would have then chosen another Poppy song, but I thought it was too soon. I thought that would have been even closer.
And you would have been right.
To Fly to the Sun.
You would have been right. Well done.
You're right. I should have picked Stairway. You're right. Should have gotten the let out. This could have been the time to get the let out.
This actually would have been a great time to get the let out.
Yeah, it would have been. I thought about doing Meshuggah too. Like I feel like in the next 25 episodes or so, I'm probably gonna get it.
Sean, the podcast ends if you pick Bleed.
Well, I did not have Meshuggah in my B-sides, but I had On an Edge by Cloud Nothings, Blood on My Leather by DZ Deathrays, One Dead Away by Middle Class Rut, XOXOXO by Secret and Whisper.
Okay.
And every song by Japan Droids. Like, literally all of them.
I think something off Enter Sakari would have been really good right here, too.
I listened to them again I think in preparation for this episode, but I ended up not doing it.
I went to a lot of metalcore songs when I was going to pick this, but then I was like, no, not yet. Not just yet. There'll be a time, but not just yet. And then the other route that I've been listening to a lot of Queens of the Stone Age lately, but I feel like we've already picked them like 3 times for this show, so I don't want to add another Queens of the Stone Age song in here just yet. Not for like another 50 episodes or so.
You gotta remember, we're doing this for time in memoriam. You know, you got a lot of time to pick.
No, that's what I mean. I think there are other really good songs for this kind of stuff out here. I can't just keep deferring to the same couple bands. I've been really pushing myself to listen to some new stuff.
You got a diverse portfolio, Sean, and you shouldn't sell yourself short.
Thank you.
Well, Tyler, if people want to take a look at your diverse portfolio, where can they do that?
You can find my diverse portfolio at rudepets.club. And, as always, you can find me on the socials as Rudepets Club on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if people want to hear your thoughts on metalcore, where can they find those?
You can find me on Instagram at Shauna Del Rey.
And if you want to talk to me about noise pop from the late 2000s, you can tweet at me at TC Olmstead. And we will be back here next week with 3 more songs on another episode of No Repeat.